Right, this version really does need to be the short version. So if you want to find out more information about any of this, check my other videos that I've made. The quick version is here's my results. So this is 100x long. You can see it's sitting on around about 3,000%. If this was annualized, I might make anywhere up to sort of 21,000%. It's highly unlikely, just because Bitcoin's been, going through the roof. It's up around about 300%, and so this is really just an unusual outcome. Grid bots are fun. Grid bots with leverage are more fun, but you can certainly lose your money much more quickly, just as you can make more money more quickly. So, buyer beware. You can see here the important things to look at is my range, my dynamic margin, my liquidity, my liquidation price. So given that the current price of Bitcoin is 66,000, it'd have to come a long way down before I got liquidated. If I was smart, I'd put in some sort of a stop loss. I'm not sure if I can do that at this stage. I'm sure I can. If I went to probably parameters, so see how I can set a take profit, and I can set a stop loss. Because I'm so far up, I should probably do something like that. Maybe just below the 50 grand type mark, just to hang on to some of this profit. But because this is a test, I'll just let it run. At the moment I've got $100 at risk, plus I've got $1,900 dynamic margin at risk, and so for me this is an experiment. So I'll let it continue to run. Ethereum, 150% type return over 479 days. This one was over 53 days. This one down here, 480 days, 195% return, grid trading. This one here, Infinity Grid Bots, I don't have an upper limit. This one here, 137% return. Theoretically, if it was annualized, 104% return, because this one's 480 days. Martingale bot, I don't know why anyone would run one of these. It hasn't done anything. Just probably might be a bit safer, but it's just a waste of time. If I look at the history of my orders, so these are all the orders that have closed, some successfully, some unsuccessfully. This one here, again, ran for 105 days. It was a 50 times long. The goal for me is to try and experiment with as many different variations of trading bots as I can. So a lot of these will look similar, but I might have changed some of the parameters just to see what works out best. So same deal, 100 days, $100 investment, 1,000% return. My dynamic margin was $260. My grid was set to 60,000 as the upper limit. Bitcoin's past that now. It got up to, I don't know, it was 69,350, I think was the high. So this grid stopped running, and so I manually cancelled it. I manually closed it. This one here is a 25 times long. And so you can see here, similar deal. Ran for 30 days, had a 116% return. It would have been 1,000% return if I left it running annually. My dynamic margin was $100. This one I manually cancelled. Same deal, 15 times long, 30 days, 72% return. Would have been 884% return over a year. Dynamic margin 93.8. You can see here that it went out of my price range. So $38,000. Bitcoin's well and truly past that. So I manually cancelled it once it was no longer actively trading. Once it goes out of your range, it stops buying and selling. 50 times short. So because I'm testing long, it's important for me to test short. So these ones I probably would have waited for, Bitcoin to be at a price that I thought was fairly high, and I thought there might have been a pullback. And I didn't pull back significantly enough. I did make some money. I think at this stage, this one might have been up. I think I was up maybe 100%, but because of the nature of the testing, I let it run. And so, took my 100% all the way back down to 5%. So I got stopped out on a stop loss because I wanted to make sure that I was also looking at how to add stop losses. $300 dynamic margin. So, I took profit just in time on that one, not to go out backwards. Same deal with this one, 9% profit, 50 times short, $100 manually cancelled. So this one I didn't have a stop loss. That was the difference effectively between those two. This one here, grid trading. One of the things that I wanted to do is I really wanted to work out, when I set up a grid, what's more profitable, a grid that's set at 0.1%, 0.5%, 1%, 2%, 5%, to see which range. So when I set up this grid range, so you can see this one here, 360 days, 35,000 was 30 grids. This one here, 360 days. This was a spot futures arbitrage one. Didn't do anything. Wouldn't bother with that one again. This one here, leverage grid. So you can also do, as these ones up the top were futures leveraged, you can also do the spot leverage one. So that's a 5 times, and so 71% type return. 5 times again, 33% return, but that was at 0.1%. This one here, grid trading bullish, didn't do anything, only ran it for 7 days, wasn't anything interesting. This one here, so you can see again, this is a leverage grid, compare it 0.5%. So the important thing to remember here is everything's the same. So 25,000, 35,000, 5 times leverage was 42% return over that 100 days at 0.5. This one was 33 over 0.1, 33.1, 42 at 0.5, 45 at 1, 48 at 2, 61 at 5. So in my mind, at 5% leverage, at 5% grid distance, you can see here that was only 7 grids, that was 15 grids, that was 27 grids, and that was 31 grids. So the rule of thumb is something like around about that 5% type mark, maybe more money for exactly the same period of time with less grids than all the other equivalents. Again, see here, so 15 times long, 25 times long, 214% profit. Now, this is where I was trying to learn about these futures grids, or I just might have been trying to throw more money at it. But you can see here I got stopped out and I lost 138%. And what's important to note here is I lost my actual investment, which was only $55, and I lost my dynamic margin, which was $21. So 55 plus 21 gives me roughly 76.9. And so you can see that if it goes the wrong way, not only do you lose your actual investment, but you can also lose your dynamic margin that you're putting up to move some of those stop losses further, the bottom, your liquidation price away from your price. This one here was 100 times, again, liquidated. So 50, 55 and 21, 50 and 23. And so this is where I was, really just trying to, set things up and play with things. So I didn't learn my lesson, got stopped that again. 15 times long, so 21%. And this one is where I had a stop loss applied. So that was a good thing. So I automatically protected my downside. And so I only lost $22 out of a potential $200 that I could have lost. So, not too bad. This one here, so I had 200 plus 428 was on the line. And I only lost $22 there because, again, I used a stop loss. Stop loss, 6%. Don't know what that was, nothing interesting. Reverse grid. Futures grid, so 40% of that one. So that's me trying to make a short video. But I always see something different every time I make one of these. But keep your fingers crossed for this one. This one's ticking along quite well. And if I was smart, I'd take profit. But I'm not very smart. And I want to run this as an experiment. So I'll just literally keep it going until it eventually stops out. And, Bitcoin's got to be over 100 grand to close this, or below 30 grand to close this. So it'll be an interesting ride somewhere between those two levels. Anyway, I'll try and keep this one short, so I shall stop this video. Thank you very much for listening, and look at the longer ones if you want more info.